Hello there. I'm Glenn. He's Matty. We've got your live commentary coming up for FC Dallas, New York City FC, Frisco, Texas. There's an extreme heat warning, heat advisory. It's in effect until 9 p.m. local time, 10 p.m. Eastern, and a heat index peaking at 107. But you know, Matty, hey, what's happening, by the way? How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad we're in matching T-shirts as well. At least you got the memo.
Nice? All right. And I'm screwing up. Hold on a second. I can't hear myself. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Good. I think it was just you.
All right. Yeah, now if this game were played, because the heat has been a major topic, fourth game in this four-game road swing, all in these oppressive climates. Most recently, Kansas City, where you spent a number of time doing a number of years doing games, and so you know the conditions there. Maybe the most sauna-like out of all four. Orlando preceded that, and then it started in Charlotte, and now Dallas. So everything's over 90 degrees, pretty deep humidity. But in the Bronx, it was 106 heat index. So and a lot of rain, thunderstorm activity, and the thunderstorm watch continues, I think, up until 9 p.m. Eastern time. Anyway, if the game were being played here, the conditions would probably be just as bad.
Yeah, look, the only positive is that these games are being played at 7:30 at night. Because if they were being played at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it would be absolutely untenable. It really would. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy for the players, certainly not when they've been on the road as much as they have, Glenn, but they've dealt with it well so far. They've got a burgeoning squad today for all that is with the back row going out, and there was talks of Ilinic maybe sort of on his way out. This squad tonight is second to none, and I'm sure you're going to go through it, but the bench, I always look at the bench. The bench tells me how strong your squad is, and the bench is absolutely jam-packed with talent, Glenn.
Well, let's get to the lead story, and it was just announced moments ago. There's the starting 11 being scrolled in the lower third. If you're watching this, if you're just listening, on the bench is... He'll have Nico on his back. It's Nico Fernandez Mercado. He's going to wear the number 7. He's available, and he will play. I'm not Pascal Janssen. Pascal Janssen did tell me he'll play. He will play. This team, New York City, is in, I don't want to say it's desperation, but they need every point possible. They need 3 from this Dallas team who are without Lucho Acosta. So you add Fernandez Mercado to the equation on the New York City side. You talked about the bench. You were excited about the bench before we came on once we saw the team. And here on the Dallas side, for the third straight game, they're without Lucho Acosta for personal reasons. We have no idea what that means, and we hope that everything's okay with him.
Let you know what that means if you want.
Well, but you've hammered me in the past for presupposing things or making light of something that
speculate.
So there could be things going on in his life that are of a detrimental state. But the assumption is always going to be he's just not having a good time in Dallas, and he wants out, even though he just got there in January. And you get a little bit of insight into how well Pat Noonan did with this guy.
Yes.
Really?
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? At Cincinnati.
He's volatile, should we put it that way? He expects... I don't think there's anything wrong with being a winner and expecting the quality that he's got in the players around him. But that is never going to happen in MLS because of the nature of the 3DP rule, because of the nature of the inability to pay players exactly what you want. I absolutely, it's impossible for him to have the good players around him that he wants. That's for sure, Glenn.
So they, and you mentioned Micha Ilinic, we're going to get to Pascal and our conversation about Ilinic. And he's in the starting 11, and it's partly out of necessity because Tavon Gray, from all looks of things, Tavon Gray is going to be in the midfield, at central defense, which in a way permits Justin Hack from doing his normal getting into the midfield when New York City has the ball. I put out a post earlier today predicting Gray would be there. I had no idea, only because He's a good 1v1 defender, as we know, and he's got pace. So if Hack is caught out, and this is where Thiago Martins is out 4 to 6 weeks, folks, with a knee injury, had surgery. It's minor surgery. Obviously, if it was major, he'd be out much more than the 4 to 6 weeks. And that doesn't mean he's competing in 4 to 6 weeks. That means he's returning to training. And then when they get him back after that, there seems to be a desperate need now for some help in central defense. But Tavon Gray played there as a U17 national team player. He played there for the New York City Academy, so he's comfortable there.
I've said it throughout our broadcast, Glenn, that I think Tavon Gray's best position will be at centre-half. I don't think he has the technical ability to play as a right wing-back or as an orthodox full-back. He just doesn't have that quality. And I think possibly his best position will be right-sided centre-half of a 3, but certainly he can play in a 2 as well at centre-half. But you're right, he has got that pace to cover him behind Justin Hack. When Hack, I don't want to say goes wandering, because he doesn't go wandering. He moves into that midfield with aplomb, and he does it with a purpose. It's not just that Tavon Gray's got that. For me, it's more the negatives of Tanasiewicz. And I think Pascal Janssen, and I'm just saying what I've seen, he's probably not overly, he's not too happy with Tanasiewicz in the fact that he's had to bring him off twice now in recent weeks because he's picked up yellow cards, and he can't rely on him to not pick up a second yellow. He should have been sent off. We all know that. He should have been sent off against Inter Miami. He picked up 1 yellow and should have got a second pretty quick after that. And recently as well, when he played, he got a yellow and then got dragged off at halftime again, Glenn. So as much as it's the positives of Tavon Gray, it's also the negatives of Tanasiewicz. And I think now Tanasiewicz is going to be almost like a Sasquatch. We think he's out there, but we're not going to see him.
Well, the idea that not only is Martins out, the captain, and someone who's been, since he got through his injuries early in the season, he missed the first 2 games as a starter and then has started every game since and was building his fitness back. And once he did, he was exceptional back there for New York City. So he's out. Burke Riese left recently. He headed back to Norway, wanted to make his family happy, it sounded in his quotes, but also, to the Norwegian publication.
But also that's the problem when you let players dictate to you what they want to do. And it's all well and good. I do like the ethos of we don't want players here who are a little bit unhappy, whose family aren't quite happy.
Right.
But you need to have got in replacements before you let that happen. Otherwise, you end up with what we have here now. And you've got Tanasiewicz on the bench, who Pascal Janssen, I don't think really wants to play. And you've now got Tavon Gray playing out of position. And you've now got a back 4 of relatively inexperienced players. And certainly you've now got 4 players playing in the back 4 who haven't really played with each other, not in those specific positions,
not as a group of 4,
not as a defensive group. So it makes it difficult. The one positive is FC Dallas aren't very good, Glenn. They've only got Musa up front who scores goal. The rest of them...
Matty, how often have we performed a broadcast and done this pregame live because we watch the teams play before we watch them play in person? And their record would indicate, especially at home. I mean, this is one of the poorest home sides.
29th out of 30 teams.
7 games without a win until they beat St. Louis, their past game 3-0. So it's a good win there. But St. Louis is a poor team.
They've got 2 wins in their last 10 games. One's against SKC, who are in 13th place, and one's against St. Louis, who are in 14th place. That tells you all you need to know. They're a bad team.
Well, let's talk about Ilinic for a moment. So he's starting at right back tonight, and this is, you check out the last 2 games in Orlando, not in the squad. And some coy remarks from Pascal Janssen afterwards, which I'm going to play for you in a moment, followed by my recent interview with him about Ilinic, who was in the squad against Sporting KC, but was an unused sub. So here's what Pascal said after the Orlando match when he wasn't in the squad, and then we'll follow that right up with what he had to say to me this week.
We brought some extra guys on the roster because we're going to travel tomorrow. We travel to Kansas already in order to prepare for that game on Saturday. So we're not having guys flying in to join the team extra. And Micha is a guy who has some things on his mind at the moment which keep him quite occupied. And I just want to have guys on the roster that are fully committed to what we are trying to achieve at the moment. So that's why he wasn't part of the roster.
First, Micha Ilinic, because you were a little coy after the game where he was not in the squad, where you said he had something else on his mind, I think, was the direct quote. I'm wondering, is his mind clear? Is he available for consideration?
Yeah, since then, Mitja and myself have had several conversations about this topic. And as you know me, Glenn, I only want players on my roster that are fully focused and committed to what we are trying to achieve as a team. And if sometimes your mind is occupied with other thoughts, that is something that you have to take care of in order to get back into the dressing room. And Mitja has done that.
So I don't know what you gleaned from that specifically, Matty, but he's a young man.
Yep.
And maybe got a little emotional after, as we've described it before, he was the man of the match in a 3-1 win over Toronto, then sits the next game and the next two games, in fact, and something happened, it would appear, whether it was his agent phoning teams overseas, whether he was just in general upset and made some sort of gesture in that manner, which maybe not worked well with the team. Don't know, but he's back.
Firstly, he's going to be very unhappy. He was the man of the match. He scored a goal in a win against Toronto and an assist. And I always say, and most coaches have always said to me, you earn the right to wear the shirt. So you're in that starting 11. You do well in that game. You earn the right to wear it in the next game. We understand why he was rested, dropped for the next game against Charlotte, because Tavon Gray is a better one-on-one defender, and Charlotte's left winger was Wilfried Zaha, who just so happens had a poor game in that game, but normally would be difficult to manage, difficult to mark, difficult to defend. But yes, Ilinic has every right to knock on the door, as long as it's done in the right manner, Glenn, knock on the door of Pascal Janssen and say, this isn't right. I performed to the best of my ability. I got a goal, I got an assist, I was man of the match, and we won the game. Why aren't I playing? And you've got the right to do it. What you don't have the right to do is to sulk, phone your agent, phone up other clubs. And this is mere speculation. We don't know that he did this, but you would assume for his mind not to be in the right place, it is these types of things. I've been in the game long enough, Glenn, at the professional level to know that's what players do. We also know that it's a World Cup next summer. We also know that he has a chance, an opportunity to get in that full squad. Whether Slovenia qualify, that remains to be seen, but he needs to be playing and needs to be playing games of football. So something happened. And
this was him before the Sporting KC match. So he was back smiling. So they must have had that chat between
maybe
Orlando City and then by the way, did we go shopping together, or
that's what I'm saying?
What was happening?
Mine's V-neck, yours is round neck. That's how we differ here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Got to be different somehow.
Hey, so we're the Frisco, Texas battle, FC Dallas and New York City FC. Our live commentary begins at 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 local, with a pregame show with a 15-minute interview with Pascal Janssen. I had a lot to ask him about, including Monsef Bakrar, and what he offered is that Bakrar is not with the team. In fact, he is in the process, we understand, of getting his medical. This was a report last week that was put out by a publication in Croatia. And indeed, the report seems to be accurate that Dinamo Zagreb is the next destination for Monsef Bakrar, that's a huge club in Croatia. That's where Luka Modric got his start in the academy and then played there. So it looks like Zagreb for Bakrar.
I think it had to happen for whatever reason, whether it's football, whether it's personal, whatever else it may be. Things did not work out for Monsef Bakrar at NYCFC, and they weren't going to work out, Glenn. There's been enough time. He's played enough minutes. He's started enough games. He's come off the bench enough. He's played in different positions as a true centre forward, which is his position. He's also played off a centre forward. He's played on the right-hand side as well, Glenn. And it hasn't worked in any of those positions, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes things don't quite work out, Glenn.
Yeah. Well, 21 games, 5 starts this year.
Yeah.
He had 5 shots on goal in 592 minutes.
Yeah. That's one every 120 minutes.
And he scored 2 goals. Now, his career in New York City, 9 goals, 1 assist in 59 games, 29 starts. And Dinamo Zagreb, just looked it up. They play a single striker. I've looked back at a lot of different matches. They play a 4-1-4-1 a lot of times. And Bruno Petkovic is like a legendary figure there, 279 games, 88 goals. And behind him is a kid named Sandro Kulinovic, 33 goals in 82 games played there. So right off the bat, it looks like Bakarov's going in and he'll be the third striker unless one of those guys is leaving. So I don't know.
The assumption would be that one of those guys is leaving, Glenn, because a club with all due respect, of the stature of Dinamo Zagreb, yes, they're a big team, Glenn, but you don't need 3 centre forwards. That's for certain.
Especially if you're playing one.
Especially when you're playing with one. Exactly that. Look, Dinamo Zagreb, as you say, Luka Modric started there. Dani Olmo left Barcelona to go to Dinamo Zagreb when he was a kid. He went there and he was very, very successful there. And obviously he's gone on to bigger and brighter things since then. But it's a massive football club in Croatia, in a smaller country within Europe. Within the league system, it's probably the 7th, 8th best league in Europe, if not a little bit lower. But also he probably will be getting European football as well. They need a bigger squad. I haven't looked into it just yet, but I'm sure that they will be playing in Europe, whether that's the Conference League, whether that's Europa League, and they need a pretty big squad. But it would surprise me if they had 3 out-and-out strikers when, as you say, they only play with 1 up top.
Well, the big news really, there's all kinds of different personnel news, which we've reviewed, but I suppose at the top of the table of news, and here was the question that came in, could we potentially see Nico from Griffin Case? And yes, he's on the bench, and I would I don't think I'll modify my comments at any moment during this broadcast, but I'd be pretty shocked not to see him on the pitch. Now, people are going to talk about his fitness, his game fitness. Look, he's been in a program that they've designed for him, and the idea is that he will play tonight. Again, if he doesn't, then there's some reason behind the scenes maybe, but they've got to get this guy integrated. He'll play a lot in Leagues Cup, I would imagine, too, which starts next Tuesday. But and then there's 10 games left in the season, Matty, and you've gone over it, and I looked at it very closely. I'm telling you, folks, this is a massive, massive game tonight against a team that New York City is superior to, period. I don't care if they're on the road. It doesn't. Well, it matters because that you do have to go through that, and it's been a long series of games for New York City away from home. While Dallas, after today, it'll have been 6 home games in their last 8, but as we've discovered, they don't win much at home. So
no, they're 29th out of 30 teams in MLS at home. They've only won 2 games at home out of 11. The only team with a worse record is Montreal. The only team who've won fewer games at home is Montreal, and they've only won 1 game. I can't quite remember who they beat in that 1 game, but we'll move swiftly on.
Stop
from that.
Stop that, Matty.
What? Who was it? So anyway, let's quickly move on. But going back to Nico.
Well, now we've got to get to let's
Nico.
We got a scouting report last week from
whatever the scouting report was. That was in League 2 in Spain, and his last game would have been in May. So he's gone a very, very long time
because it was a June game. They won it and they secured promotion in
June.
That game. It was early
still
June.
Gone 6 to 8 weeks or 6 to 7 weeks without playing competitive football. He will play. He will play tonight if possible. He will be drip fed minutes because he isn't match fit. But the Leagues Cup fits at a really good time.
It is good timing
for Fernandez Macau and for Thiago Martins because he's got his operation done and he can rehabilitate during Leagues Cup. But yes, Fernandez Macau, or Nico, if we're going to call him that, the number 7, they're going to get him on the field as soon as possible, especially when you consider that Maxi Morales is 38 years old and the amount of minutes he has played. He has played
the second most outfield minutes of any player for New York City FC this season.
And he has worked his socks off. But you've seen in the last few games that certainly he is wilting and waning in 65th, 70th minute, but that's understandable, especially in the heat and the humidity. We don't know quite how fit Fernandez Macau is, but certainly he is not match fit right now. But you would envisage him playing 15, 20, half an hour maybe, and then in the next Leagues Cup game, who knows? He might even start, and then you just bring him off at half time. It depends how the sports.
What's interesting, he's got like Pereira tonight, and there was a question in our chat if I could find it, and indeed. Let me see if I can find it. It had to do with Well, can't quite see it. It's about Andres Perea. And yes, he's playing that inverted, and it will be a box midfield, if you will. And that's how he got loose for the goal against Sporting KC. He was located more centrally and made that attacking run. In fact, why don't we go back and look at that goal that enabled New York City to come away with the point at Sporting KC.
Maxi Morales now to Andres Perea. He's got a chance. Here's his shot. It's a goal in New York City. Open the scoring. Maxi Morales to Andres Perea. Slotted it on the left side. And New York City, it's the 22nd minute, and they've had majority of the play. It's a well-deserved lead. There was some pressure by Sporting KC in the last several minutes, but off the counter, and New York City, they've looked dangerous in those moments and finally produced with Andres Perea.
Yeah, it's a little bit too easy. Maxi Morales picks the ball up just over the halfway line, and one run from Perea unlocks the whole of the defence. And all Maxi Morales has to do is play the ball in front of him. He takes a touch with the outside of his right foot and then finishes with the inside of the same foot. Pulskamp has pulled off save after save here, but he couldn't get anywhere near this one. He's grasping at thin air. Quality from Perea, quality from Morales, but nothing more than this NYCFC team deserved, Glenn.
That's true. They deserved the lead at that point, and then they were wilting as the game progressed. And Daniel Shalloway, he ended up equalizing after the 70th minute. So now it's 1-1. But simultaneously, and I'll claim hydration break MVP, because at that moment, now you'll hear Pascal Janssen on the pregame show. That's coming up at 8:15 on our network, nycfc.com/radio, where you can listen to every game live and then sync it up with the video. I expect you to do that again. I know some of you do, some of you don't. You got to get yourself adjusted, man. And the idea that with Perea scoring the goal, I forget what it was. Oh, the hydration break. So who comes in? Well, Seymour Reed comes in. Now, we've seen Seymour Reed. In fact, he earned himself a homegrown contract. It's one of these, I can't explain it fully right now, but it doesn't allow him to play every single game. I think he can only play in 6 games under this mid-season homegrown contract.
MLS games, but
MLS
he can
games.
play in as many leagues cup.
So the Leagues Cup, we'll see. And then this other kid, Sebastiano Musu. So what did he do? Well, he did a lot. Here's Pascal Janssen. I wanted to talk about this Musu kid who got 2 shots immediately when he got on the ball, got a third shot, probably was fouled in the box to draw a penalty, and then made a pass to that Maxi Morales dummy to Perea. The Perea kind of fumbled, and his chance for a brace and New York City's chance for 3 points. But here's Pascal Janssen as we talked in the pregame show about Sebastiano Musu. Have to ask you about Sebastiano Musu. This is, I'm wearing a Napoli t-shirt. This is the only Italian thing I have, and it's in celebration of Musu. So the first time the ball's played out to his side, he gets on the dribble, beats the defender to a point where he can get off that left-footed shot and doesn't miss by much on the back post.
Yeah.
Then I think the next time he gets it, he tries to beat the keeper at the near post, and I think he was deceptively trying to get the keeper to think he was going back post again.
For sure,
But he misses the target.
Yeah.
He draws the penalty. I don't know what you thought of that in the final analysis. It doesn't matter now, but it certainly looked like a foul in the area on a ball from Seymour Reed. We know they've combined on the New York City FC2 level. But this Musu, it was interesting because, and again, it's a very small portion of time that we've seen him. But I haven't had that feeling when the ball gets out on the wing where like you almost like rise a little bit like, whoa, something's going to happen here. Something's going to happen. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, exactly the same. And that is something that we've seen in the games that we visited for the second team. I was very curious if he was able to do the same or similar things at first team level. So we saw him in training. He's fearless. He tried to do exactly the same. So that made me very confident once the game was at a certain point that we needed this energy in the attacking line, that Musu is a guy to be considered. And he didn't disappoint us because the moments that you described just now, within 20 minutes, tells you the story of how much impact the kid had on the game. And unfortunately, it didn't get us the result that we were looking for, but the impression was there. Yeah.
Is Musu with you, and is he going to be in the squad?
He's with us, and I have to decide still what the final roster is going to be, but he's available and he's with us.
And you're in a tricky spot with him because it's the short-term loan thing.
That is the one thing I don't understand within the MLS yet. So,
there's more than that.
Yeah,
there's more than that.
I had a sense you were going to say that as well. But those are the things I'm trying to get my head
something
around.
Called the MLS All-Star Game, and I think deep down you're very thankful that you had your whole team with you and that no one was selected. Now, you're not.
I have no comment.
It's much better when you can see him while you're talking about this. And he's not a fan of the MLS All-Star Game, but few coaches are. So it's good for the league, I suppose. And what wasn't good for the league, but it was that Lionel Messi was a no-show. And we're going to get into that as we close this. But first, Musu, Matty, I know it's been just a small amount of time we've seen him, but as Pascal said, they've watched him on the 2 team where he has 3 goals and a couple of assists. He's got a bicycle kick goal there, which, that's part of his flair. But I don't think we talked much about it. Did you feel the way, Pascal and I did, that when he got on the ball, it was like, wow, something's going to happen?
Yeah, he's just ultra confident. I think it helps when you're making your debut and you're playing in that kind of position, you're playing in that forward type of role. I think the shackles are off. I think you can be at your impudent best and you don't need to worry about anything, because even if you make a mistake, the other team's still got 80 yards to get to your goal.
Right.
So taking nothing away from him, look, you could, I don't know whether quite the hairs on the back of your neck stood up, but certainly you did a little gasp, intake of air. Like,
it was like he got it that first
here.
time and he missed on the back post. So you're like,
look,
okay.
He has confidence.
And then he gives the keeper the eyes and tries to beat him at the front post. It's like, okay.
Which look, is great, but you have to start hitting the target.
Yeah.
But for his first foray into MLS play, it couldn't have gone much better unless the back of the net bulged, obviously. But you can't really expect that on your first outing. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. And then of course you need to start games of football as well. It's all well and good coming in for 10 and 15 minutes, fits and starts. You then got to grow into it. But look, he's a very young man in terms of his career. He's not a young man in terms of his age, but in terms of his professional football career, he's very, very young indeed.
Well, he's on the bench. So is Agustín Ojeda. So is Julian Fernandez. So is Nico Fernandez Mercado, the designated player who will likely make his debut. I mean, that's a pretty good attacking force there in the substitute banner. Maximo Carrizo, didn't even mention him. Seymour Reed. I mean, you could almost put a new team out there.
Look, there's a plethora of attacking options there for the head coach, and that's what you want, isn't it? Because you want people coming off the bench who are going to have a positive effect, and it's very rare that a defender's going to have a positive effect. They really only going in if you need a little bit of extra stability or there's an injury. Normally you put on those attackers to have that positive effect when you need a goal or you need a second or third to go another goal or 2 ahead. And look, I'm looking forward to tonight because they have had their rest. Yes, there's been some travelling, but they've had their rest now. They've been able to work on playing against FC Dallas, which they hadn't really had in the short turnaround.
And they were able to come home.
And SKC.
Remember, they didn't come home between Orlando and
that's what I mean. And they've come home, they've settled in, slept in their own beds for a couple of nights, then gone for a couple of days into FC Dallas. Look, for me, I feel they have to very bare minimum come away with a point here. But really, you would hope that they come away with 3 points here tonight, Glenn.
And just a little bit more about Musu, his background. He is from, he's Italian. I mean, he is Sardinia, the island. He's from this Santa Giusta, a population 5,000. And the only, and I'm trying to, there's nothing in the bio. I've looked everywhere and we haven't had a chance to talk to him where he played his youth soccer and how he went about that, because Cagliari is on the island. Yep. So Cagliari Calcio is the club. And was he close enough to eventually get there? And is that where he was trained and developed a little bit before he came to the States and played at Campbellsville University, which is an NAIA school. and he had a great career there. He was the NCCAA Golden Ball. That's a Christian Athletic Association, part of the junior college and NAIA deal. And then he transferred to Manhattan, and he was often doing well there. He played 2 years there, 4 goals and 3 assists in his last season. So you go like, well, he doesn't look like he's a massive goal scorer. And academically, a 3.68 GPA in finance at Manhattan. Manhattan's a tough school, so he's also a bright boy. So there you go.
Yeah, look, it's not a great school for soccer, but as you say, it's a great school academically. He had his 5 years at college over here, which is why he's now, 23, 24 years of age. So that's what I say.
Yeah,
he's very
24.
old in terms of age, but he's very young in terms of his experience as a professional footballer. Certainly, very few players come into the professional game at that age.
All right, as we close this MLS All-Star game. So Jorge Mas was not pleased when the commissioner, Don Garber, announced earlier today that neither Lionel Messi nor Jordi Alba would be able to participate in their game against Cincinnati, home game. And that's coming up tomorrow. There's 6 games in MLS tonight on a Friday night, 9 games tomorrow. That's the marquee matchup. And certainly without Messi, it impacts other teams in the conference as well. The absence of Messi, who only has braces in 6 of his last 7 games. I mean, he's been unbelievable, but is always a 90-minute player. And that was Jorge Mas's claim here. Here's the quote. By the way, everybody knew the rules going in, okay? Lionel Messi is extremely upset. This is Mas. He's the owner of Miami. I'm hopeful it doesn't have an impact long term. Will it have an impact on Messi's perception on the league and its rules? No doubt. I mean, it's almost like a little idle threat. Come on, man.
I don't think it's
Miami
an idle
knew
threat.
it. Miami knew it. Messi knew it. Everybody knew it. I don't blame him for not even wanting to go down after all the minutes he's played. He's 38 years old. You want to prepare the best you can for the league game. But part of his payment is Apple. Apple's a huge part of what this MLS All-Star. Look, I'm not a proponent of the MLS All-Star game. I look at everything from the sporting side. I think it's not good, especially when you've got Leagues Cup coming up. You've got a jammed schedule. You have a lot of your players that played in CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yeah,
also in addition to the regular year and U.S. Open Cup. I mean, there's just some of these players.
From a sporting side, the All-Star game can only hurt. It's there. Of course it can. It's pointless from the sporting perspective of how is it going to help the players. It's not going to help the players in any way, shape or form, and it's not going to help any head coaches. But yes, it may help the growth of the game within the US. It may help the growth of the game within Liga MX. Maybe.
Right. I'm looking completely from the sporting side, and I know who won the game. I didn't watch the game because I have to stay true to the fact that I'm not a big fan of the game itself from the sporting side. So we're in agreement there. This was pretty cool, but no Messi, no Alba, and a lot of discussion back and forth about this. Matt Freese, all right, Matty Ice. So he might not himself ever end up in the National Soccer Hall of Fame, but his gloves are there. And you know where New York City is tonight? Frisco, Texas, at Toyota Stadium, where the National Soccer Hall of Fame is. So there's his gloves. They're going in. I don't know if they sent them or if he delivered them. Did he deliver them to Frisco? And
it looks as though they were on his car seat. That's how they got there.
Exactly. And you see they're signed, and but that's cool. So anytime you go into the Hall of Fame, you'll get a chance to see. And that's from the Costa Rica game when he saved 3 penalties in the penalty kick shootout to help the U.S. men's national team advance. The only penalty that didn't get past him. Did get past him was Alonso Martinez, his teammate. So there you go. Unbelievable. And one final thing, I like to give myself credit when credit is due. And earlier today, I made this prediction that Tavon Gray would start next to Justin Hack because Pascal Janssen had talked about that it could be Tavon Gray, but it could also be Tanasiewicz. He also said Kevin O'Toole, like moving Justin right and Kevin O'Toole left central defense, maybe play a back 3. He also talked about Aiden O'Neal dropping in. And I thought Gray, because, and as Justin Hack said in this presser, we know he likes to get forward out of the back and get into the midfield. And with Gray back there with his pace and defensive ability, that's why I assume that. So congratulations to me. It's like it's that kind of life now. You know, I have to credit myself when the time is now I'm. We gotta get out of here because it looks like I've got this crazy bad connection here. Come on, there we go. Hey, this is what happens. That's our mixer. That's Matty Lawrence, our analyst. I'm Glenn Crooks, your play-by-play commentator. And we're up in 10 minutes, nycfc.com/radio. Hey, all of you watching probably get, a high majority of you watching get you're on the email chain for New York City FC. And on match day, they put out this email, tune in, Dallas versus NYC match day. And they go through the MLS season pass. But if you go down a couple of spots, you see radio broadcast. This makes it easy for you. Just click on that. Click on English. You can click on Spanish too, where Roberto Abramowitz and Ariel Hudas are carrying the game as well on the network. And then you sync it up with the Apple TV. All right? Do that, and we'll be happy. Either way, enjoy the game, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.